Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Lauren. Thank you so much for watching. Today I'm going to be doing 4 different looks using the Natasha Denona Bronze Palette. I have a first impression if you want another look on this, but I really wanted to dive into this palette and see how many different looks I can create. Obviously this is the Bronze Palette. It is in a lot of ways kind of monochromatic. It's very bronze themed. A lot of the shadows are very similar. They're just like slight variations in tone. Some pull red, some pull golden, some are a little bit more bronzy orange, but overall it's pretty warm except for a couple pops of cool. And so that was my idea going into these 4 looks, is how can I craft something a little bit different with each one and try to get the most variation from this palette and see really what I could do with it. So I hope you guys enjoy that. If you don't have this palette at home, you can definitely follow along with any bronze or similar shades that you might have in your collection. Obviously bronze neutral tones aren't necessarily super different, so I really hope you guys enjoy. And I think that's everything, so let's get into the looks. Alright guys, so for this first look, I'm super excited because I want to dig into these 2 colors. Maybe I'll bring a little bit of that in, but I really want to focus on maybe a little bit more of like a cooler smoky eye with this bronze palette. I'm pretty sure I said this in the intro, but I am really trying to demonstrate 3 different looks, like getting as much versatility from this very one-noted palette. And so I really want to focus on trying to get something a little bit more cool from this look. First, I'm going to start off with Beach here. It is one of the more cool toned and lighter mattes in the palette, and I'm going to be running that through my crease and as a transition. I find that Natasha Denona's mattes really deepen up on me. Like, I can take it pretty far, so I'm going in first with a fluffy brush. I'm being very light-handed, and I'm just working on getting a transition, and then as I have more of like my shape and kind of what's going on, I will put more pressure, and I've kind of built up a little powder in the brush, and then it'll apply more, and I'll build up from there. And I'm not trying to go too heavy with this because even though this is a cooler shade in the palette, wow, look at how warm that makes me look from the mirror. Anyway, even though this is a cooler shade in the actual palette, it's definitely not cool by any means. So I don't want to go too heavy and have something really warm when I feel like the other colors are more cool. And I'm okay with building up a tiny bit more in the outer corner, just because that will be where everything gets a little deeper. Next for the look, I'm gonna keep deepening the outer corner, and we're going straight into Deep Dive, that darkest shade. You could say we're deep diving into Deep Dive. And I'm taking a more domed brush. This one happens to be from Rephr. The brush shades before were just like a fluffy brush. I got this from like a Boxycharm, but a Sigma E40, something like that will totally work. I'm gonna try to mention brushes because I know a lot of you guys asked. Anyway, I'm taking this dome brush. The reason I'm using this is because it's so dense and I can really control the product. This Deep Dive shade is one of the cream to powder, and it does have this kind of like purple undertone. So we'll see. I haven't used this color yet, so we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna be working this, oh yeah, on the outer corner. I'm even taking a little bit and putting it on the other side. I'm doing this one first before going in with the lid shade because I want to see if I need to add more or not. And so I placed it where I want it the most intense, and now again, really utilizing how much pressure I'm putting on the brush or not, I'm buffing it out. And so as I buff out the edges, I'm putting less pressure on the brush. And one of the ways you can do that is by where you hold the brush. So like I hold it pretty far back, and that usually gives you less pressure. And then as I blend out, I'm also blending onto the lid. So we've already smoked out that. I mean, this is a pretty look on its own, honestly. For this look in my eye shape, I'm also really trying to not like bring it too far up. I tend to do that, so we'll see if I can actually attempt that, but I'm kind of going for something a little sultry. I wouldn't say like cat eye in any way, but with my eye shape, I'm trying to just keep it more on the lid than super blown out, especially with the darker shade. And I'm really focusing it more on that, again, outer corner and the lash line, really. All right, I think that looks pretty good, blend-wise, everything. So next I'm gonna be taking my finger, I'm going into Rhodium, I believe is the shade, and I'm gonna be patting this onto the middle of the eye and then back into the color we've already worked on the lid. And I'm keeping it pretty low down, and then I'm going to use a brush to blend. I'm taking a little fluffy blending brush. This one is from Looksy. I got in a Boxycharm once again. And I'm putting a little bit of product on, and then I'm going to take this and really buff out the edges. And I'm, again, trying not to take this too far up. I'm really going for like sultry, and I want it to be controlled. This shade looked really kind of sparkly, but it's really turning into a satin more on the eye, even with me applying it with my finger, which tends to give a more pigmented look. And once I have the edges built up more, I'm just taking my finger and really applying that on the lid. Again, staying away from the edges so I don't have to worry about taking it too high. And again, we already have that mostly blended. All right, and now we're gonna work on that little inner corner. I'm gonna take Palladium, that shade there. It's one of the cooler bronzes in here. I'm sure it's going to look really warm, and this might be a mistake, but my heart is telling me to do this. So I'm gonna take it on another finger, and just for that inner portion, I'm going to be applying it and then blending it into that Rhodium shade. So that's what the eye looks like. I think that's really pretty. And again, I'm just going over the edges with that same brush we've already used. You can go back in between each of these colors as much as you want to get like the right mix. But I like so far the shimmer shades. I do want to add a little bit more depth on the outer corner just because it looks a little one-noted. I think I'll add just that little extra depth. So I'm going in with Deep Dive once again. Very similar application, just applying it to the outer corner, to the lash line, and blending out. All right, I like kind of winged it out just a little bit. For an inner corner highlight, to me, nothing in the palette is really super light for my inner corner. And so for this look, I'm just gonna go into a highlighter. Today I'm using my Flex highlighter from Milk Makeup in the shade Lit, and I'm gonna be putting that on the inner corner. For the lower lash line, I'm taking a bit of this cream shadow stick from CoverGirl. It's in like a taupey gray color, and I'm just going to smudge a little bit of that on the outer corner just to have a bit of a base. And I'm keeping it mostly to the outer corner because I still want my eyes really open, and although it's like dark, I don't want it to close off my eyes. And then I'm actually gonna blend that color out with the Rhodium, which is the sparkly one. And I'm just going to put the shadow down as I blend out. And then I blend it into that outer corner. And really where I want most of the darkness to start fading is like right where my eye is centered. That's like as far as I want that depth to go. And then to punch in at the very lash line, I'm taking an angled brush and I'm going to just wiggle that Deep Dive shade at the lash line. I'm also gonna take it slightly on the upper lash line. That color is deep, so be warned. I have a little bit of fallout under my eye. I'm gonna clean that up, add some mascara, and I will show you guys the final look. All right, guys, so here is the finished look. So sultry, look at that. I really am happy with my more controlled eye shape today. It was something I was like really trying to work on, and I think I accomplished it, so I'm pretty happy. But let me try, I'm gonna try to get really close. Hopefully the color balance isn't too off, but that is what it looks like. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed this kind of more cool tone, sultry eye. I think it turned out pretty well, and it definitely has the bronze in that beginning corner, but it gets pretty, I think it gets pretty smoky, especially for me. I hope you enjoyed, and you know, of course, if you have this palette, you can follow along, but if you have similar shades at home, you could totally use those to recreate this too. But let's get into the second look and see how different we can get. All right, guys, I am pretty bronzed today. I have some draping going on, and the reason for that is because I wanted to go kind of simple on the eyes and do a look with this like peachy pink shade that we have, and that's called Bliss. I'm most likely gonna only use that today, so it's a super simple look. I've already told y'all, like, I love the blush draping, so if you want a tutorial on this, my first video using this palette, I demonstrate some of the blush draping that I do with the actual face palette, and then I have a whole video on blush draping. I'll leave it linked. Anyway, I'm gonna take a fluffy brush and I'm just dipping that into Bliss. We're gonna start off fluffy, and I'm just going to be bringing that into my crease, starting with that outer corner. and just blending it out, just buffing it out. This shade is a duochrome, so it will have, especially once we pack it on, it'll definitely flip colors. And now I'm gonna take that color, you can see that flip really well there. I'm gonna put that on my lid just with my finger, really pressing it in and blending it into what we've already blended out. I mean, and that's kind of really as simple as it is. I am gonna do a few things just to make this look a little bit more, I don't know, a little bit more. For liners for this look, I'm going to smudge a little gray on my lower lash line and maybe tightline a little bit. And then I'm also gonna be putting this green in my actual waterline. I just think it will add something kind of fun. So I know I don't really wanna bring any pink like down on the lower lash line too much. Maybe I will a little, but there's something about keeping the look really clean. Oh no. Oh no. Oh my. Here we go. That I enjoy. So I don't want to like get too carried away with that. And then I'm just going to smudge that out a little bit with my finger. I'm not trying to like take it too far down, and I'm kind of like once I have product off on my finger, I use a new finger, so that way I'm kind of removing what's excess product. I just want a little bit of definition down there for once we do add like mascara and do a little bit more blush draping. And then like I said, that green's gonna go on the actual waterline. For the inner corner, I'm gonna be using a highlighter once again. This one is from Persona, it's in the shade Laguna. And I'm just going to be tapping that out on the inner corner, bringing it down the lower lash line. I'm gonna zoom you out just a little bit so you can really see what my full face looks like at the moment. And what I wanna do is I'm gonna take again some of that Bliss, I'm going on a fluffy blending brush, and I'm gonna start bringing this into the blush draping, just going a little on that lower outer corner, just to tie it in. And before I finish out any of that, I'm gonna add mascara so I can really know what my look's like, and then I can make some final tweaks. So that's where I'm at with the mascara, and I think it just helps give a lot more perspective as to how much blush we need, which I mean, most people would be like, you don't need any more blush, girl, stop. But I don't listen to anyone but myself. And my brain tells me, keep going. Don't give up on your dreams. So I'm gonna take some more of the blush that I was already using. I'm using the Alamar Cosmetics blush trio in Fair, and I'm just kind of blending out. Like, I think that changed it. I really do. Like, I think it looks more blended, and that's kind of the look, guys. So I'll zoom in. I think there's some mascara on my lids, but I don't care. So here's my look. I think Bliss is such a beautiful color because it has that pink undertone, but then it does have that golden sparkle, so it makes it something a little bit different in this palette. And then obviously by pairing it with the green, it's way more colorful. So let's see the full thing. All right, guys, so here's the finished look with all the draping. I really did like this look and how it turned out. It definitely, you know, you wouldn't necessarily think like, oh, you got it from this palette, but I did. And I think that Bliss is definitely one of the colors in this palette you can utilize to kind of do something different. But anyway, again, if you want any of those draping tutorials and they look very similar to this, I will leave those down below so you can have a little bit more information and just play around with that. But let's get into the next look. All right, guys, we're moving on to look number 3, which I'm pretty sure I'm gonna do 4 looks. So today's look, though, this is going to be more inspired by these warmer kind of like yellow bronzes, and I have a pretty dark lip on, but I kind of liked the idea of putting these together, so we'll see how it looks. And we're just gonna get started. So I'm gonna be taking the shade Ridge. Well, I'm gonna take the shade actually Sundown first. It's slightly lighter than Ridge and a little bit more orange actually. And I'm taking that on a fluffy blending brush. I've already primed my lids, and I'm just going to be running that through the crease as a transition. I like to go pretty light to start off. We can always kind of deepen it up. On my skin tone, this pulls very orange. All right, I just wanted a base of that down. We're now gonna go into Ridge, which is I feel like more mustardy. It's that color there. And I'm taking it on that same brush, and I'm just putting it essentially in the same area. slightly lower and just am blending it out and really focusing more of it on the outer corner. And when I have less of that on my brush, I am just going up and blending that outer edge. All right, and now I'm gonna continue taking Ridge with a different brush. This is more of like what I call a pinched fluffy. And we're gonna be just focusing that on that outer corner, really deepening it up and not taking it too high because we just blended all that. So we don't want to have to redo that work. We're just taking it on that outer corner. The next shade that I'm gonna take is the shade Alloy right here. It's definitely the most, I think, golden kind of copper shade in here. But before that, I'm gonna take some glitter glue, which I normally don't do, but I really want to have this color stick quite nicely. So I'm gonna just put some of that on my finger, and I'm gonna go one eye at a time, actually. So I'm putting that on the lid, like basically the first half of the lid. And then I'm just gonna take a different finger and use Alloy and just press that on my lid. And then like always, once I have less on my finger, I kind of just tap it out and use my finger to blend. So that is my eye. I love it. It's exactly what I was hoping for. And then just to get into that very inner corner, I'm just taking a smaller brush so I can tap right in there. Okay, so I really like the way that looks. I don't necessarily want to deepen it up too much, but this is what I really want to do. I want to take my finger and I want to dip it into Rhodium a little bit and just tap it on the outside. I don't know if that's a good idea, but that's what my heart's telling me to do, so I'm going to do it. I'm just taking a little bit on my finger and just tapping it barely on the outer corner and keeping it pretty low. I just want to add a little depth, but I'm not trying to necessarily make it not warm. I think that's perfect, exactly what I was looking for. I should just trust myself. Overall, I'm really happy with that, and I also think it's a great way to show how Rhodium may look like really cool tone, like it doesn't fit, but by tapping it over these, it's definitely still a warm eye, but it did add some depth. So anyway, let's finish up the lower lash line. I think I'm gonna go in straight with Ridge on my lower lash line. For liners, I'm gonna be going in with like a brown on the lower lash line that I'm gonna smudge out, and then I am gonna put a yellow on my inner waterline just to really punch in that golden note that we're doing here, and then I'll come back and do the inner corner. All right, and for my inner corner, I'm going in with the highlighter I used today, which is also from Natasha Denona. This is the Super Glow in 02, and I'm just going to be putting that, like always, on my inner corner and then blending it into the lower lash line. All right, guys, so I added some mascara, and here is the final look all up close. Really like a honey bronze look. I think it's really beautiful, sultry. I love the shimmers. I think the shimmers of Natasha Denona really do have this kind of spectacular quality. I'm not saying you can't dupe them. I just think that they are really beautiful, and my eyes are obviously really blue right now with these yellows. And here's the look all the way zoomed out. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really liked this pretty warm, it feels like a mustardy orangey. It kind of is gold. This looks gold to me when it's separate from the palette. But I hope you enjoyed this look, and let's do the bonus look, because I still have one more look that I think is going to be quite different when we focus on more of those reddish tones. So let's get into that. All right, guys, let's finish up this last look. We are gonna be focusing on some of these more like red bronze tones here. So we're doing like a halo eye. We're getting a little smoky. We're getting a little deep. I'm excited to play around. I haven't played with these shades yet. I already have my eyes primed like normal. I feel like I went a little heavy on my eyebrows, but maybe they just always look like that. I don't know. Ooh, where are we gonna start? Okay, I think I'm gonna start with Beach here. It's like light and not too yellow. I don't want to go too yellow. And I'm just gonna be putting that into my crease. And for halo eyes, I focus not only on the outer corner, but I do bring that shadow all the way into the inner corner. I do try to be pretty careful though, because I don't want to get too much product on this like nose bridge. And when you're using a fluffy brush, it's easy to just kind of get out of control and like bring it in here, but you don't. You want to keep it on the lid. But I am bringing it in more. And if you're finding like issues with that, definitely try using like smaller brushes, so that you can control the product application a little bit more. And then you can go out and blend with a fluffier brush with less product or even no product, just to get a nice seamless blend. I tend to go more rounded with my eye shape when it comes to halo eyes as well, so I'm not necessarily bringing it out as far as I normally would. All right, now that we just have like a little bit of a base laid down, I'm gonna keep going in with Beach, but I've switched to that, you know, pinched fluffy brush, and this is where I'm going to really start building up some of that depth on the outer and inner edges and then blending into the crease. I'm probably going to wait and use a smaller brush on that inner portion. Depending on your eye shape, you might totally be able to use something, you know, as big as this, but for me, it's kind of pushing it. Yeah, it's just little. I have to just really wiggle it in one area, which is fine for a little bit of buildup, but it can just get messy, so be careful, take a little bit of time with that, or use, you know, smaller brushes. And then when it comes to this middle crease, I'll just take my brush and kind of run it with not too much product, but I mostly do like to kind of close off that upper crease area. All right, now I am going in with a small little blending brush. This is from Rephr. I think that Sigma makes something similar to this. We're gonna go into Magma. It's this like red brown shade. It's going to be pretty dark, I assume. This is gonna add the depth that we need for like a halo eye, a proper halo eye. And also I'm using a brush small enough that I can really pinpoint where I want the product, and then we can always blend out later. So I'm just going in small circular motions, building up that product. And then as I have less product on my brush, I'm bringing it actually like into the crease. And same with this inner corner, once again, just being very gentle about how I'm laying product down. Small circular motions, and then as I have less product, blending what I have into that crease. You can like see how it really rounds out the eye when that highlights in the center there and you have that darkness on either side. This eye already looks more round in shape. All right, so this is where I'm at right now. I'm taking a very tiny pointed brush. This is just one that came with Dose of Colors eyeshadows that I've gotten in the past. And I'm just making sure that very inner corner is actually pigmented with this brown shade and not because it's such a small area. I got a little mark on accident out here, but I'm trying to just ignore it. Before we go in with the center shade, I am just blending out outer edges with the first brush that we used. I just want to make sure blending is seamless. I'm not putting any more product. I'm just using this as a way to blend. And now we're going to go in with High Degree, which is this like red bronze shade, and I'm going to be tapping that onto the center. All right, so that's where we're at. I'm now going to take a little bit more of that brush and that brown Magma shade. And what I do is I just tap on the edges. I definitely thought there'd be more of a contrast, if I'm being honest. Like that red shade didn't, I guess you could say, shine as much as I thought to like really catch the light. And so I feel like the bit of the contrast in the halo that makes it work isn't working. So I'm going to take a little bit of Silk and just tap a little bit of that on the very center, just so we get a little bit more light. See how the light's picking up just slightly? Yeah, I like that a lot better. Okay, I do have a little bit of fallout over here on this part of my eye, so I'm just taking a little Q-tip and kind of cleaning that up a bit. I don't know what I want to do for the lower lash line because I don't really want to deepen up my eyes too much, so I'm going to add a little bit of a cream liner to my waterline. I think I'm just going to go in with Beach, that first matte shade. I'm using that very small pencil brush because I really don't want this to get everywhere, and I'm just taking it right at the lower lash line, outer corner, to blend it in. I'm really not trying to close off the eye. I'm already rounding it so much because of this shape, and I don't know. I just feel like my eyes, I don't like the look of my eyes being closed off too far in with like color or darkness. All right, last thing for this eye look, I'm gonna take a little bit of Silk, which is the shade we used in the very center, like as a topper. And I'm just going to tap a little bit of this on the inner corner. just to add a little bit of light there. Normally, I mean, I don't think that a lot of the shades in here are really suitable for me as an inner corner highlight, but I feel like this look is dark enough that there's enough contrast to at least we can make it work for today. It's still a little deep. I don't know. Maybe not the best choice, but this is the final look, guys. I hope you liked it. Definitely turned out a little bit different because that bronze, like the red bronze, was a little bit deeper than I expected. So contrast-wise, I had to make it work with adding that extra silk. But overall, I do like it. I do like it. Something a little bit more sultry. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed these 4 looks with this palette. Overall, I did want to give some more finalized thoughts or just like more refined thoughts since my first impressions and kind of answer my idea of if this is like too one-note or if you can only get like the same look with this palette. And after using it, I definitely think that this is a monochromatic bronze palette. It's like different takes of bronze, but you're going to get a very neutral eye every single time. So if you're someone who likes a bronze eye, but you like adding in a pop of something different, or, you know, you like having more variety, this might not be the palette for you. But if you are someone who likes a lot of neutrals, you might really enjoy this palette. I do feel like on my skin tone, this skews very warm, whether we're going more red or we're going more golden or like orange. There's definitely nothing that neutral in here. And then I would say the only real 2 colors that are cool toned are these top 2 here. I do think that Palladium can play into being cooler if you want to play it that way, but it also can work really well with the other colors in here. I feel like it's more of like a neutral. I overall just think like with all that warmth, I think it's a nice release for summer. I'm really happy they included something so deep in here. It's kind of interesting that it pulls purple almost, but I think it works overall. It would have been nice to maybe have something more chocolatey or brown, but I think that overall it does work and it gives you that depth that you're looking for. And I love that if you wanted, you have this option of doing something just only cool toned and still getting a full look out of it. I really enjoyed the cream to powder matte formula that Natasha Denona has. I haven't really played with that before. I think one of my biggest issues for me personally, once again with my skin tone, I really would have enjoyed just one lighter shade in here. I find with Natasha Denona's shadows, they always deepen up. So if I see a gold or a really pretty champagne, it's always a deeper champagne on me or a deeper gold than I expect. And so it would have been really awesome to have something just a little bit lighter so I could have an inner corner highlight color or something to kind of tap over other things. I know that won't work necessarily for everyone, but if I were to redo it, I would definitely get rid of one of these mid-tone coppers and include something that's lighter in tone. I do think that like technically all of these mid-tone shimmery bronze shades, they are different, but they also are very similar. So there's the potential, I feel like, there that she could have switched something up or added a different take on bronze or a different finish, or again skewed lighter or darker, just to add a little bit more variation even within the same color family. I wouldn't have minded that, but I still don't think that it's too monochromatic. Like, you know, you're getting something neutral if you're buying this palette. I noticed with Bliss that there's a lot of staining. There's a very pink base to Bliss, and then it has like that reflective duochrome to it. I think it's nice, and again, that one is a bit different compared to everything else. So I do like that there's a bit of something different with this. So overall, is it too monochromatic? I don't think so. I don't think that you're getting the exact same look. You are getting a very similar look though. You're getting a very similar look unless you're really deciding to do something different. And that's kind of my thoughts. Overall, for $65, I do think that if you like Natasha Denona's formula, if you like this color story, that you're going to be happy with this palette. I really love the fact that this is smaller. I love the mirror and the packaging. I like that you can take shadows out. I am satisfied with this purchase, and although this is like considered expensive compared to maybe a $45 palette or a $50 palette, like it's more expensive than those, I definitely feel like I'm getting luxury at a really affordable or more affordable price that I feel like is worth it, that I feel like overall is worth it. So I've been really happy with it. I haven't had any issues with quality. I've found that these shadows definitely do blend iridescent, and they definitely do pack a lot of pigment, but I've had like really seamless blends. Like I've been very happy in person, but also looking back at the footage of my like eyes, I'm like, oh, that's pretty blended. So I've been very, very happy, but I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. What do you think of this palette if you picked it up? Have you been enjoying it? Maybe what are some of your favorite eyeshadow combinations? And other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!